Good morning, everyone. My name is Jan-Willem Atteveld, and I'm one of the co-founders of Automation Boutique. The other co-founder, Philip, was originally supposed to lead this webinar, but he's feeling sick since this morning, so I will be taking over today. I have a background in corporate treasury, and today's topic, AI-powered finance, is something I'm really passionate about. I'm always curious to know what AI can do, and I'm exploring a lot of different solutions in this area. What I see is that treasury and finance teams are often early to try out new technology. They're always looking for ways to automate and improve, and they usually have the resources to make it happen. But as we all know, there's often a gap between what is promised and what is possible. Sometimes that can lead to a bit of skepticism. In today's session, we're going to dig into what AI can really do for treasury and finance. We will look at it from different perspectives, and I'm excited that we have three experts today with us who will share their views. First, Pablo Laguina. Pablo is head of operations at Embat, a cloud-based TMS platform. He has a long and deep experience on the corporate side, working as an all-round finance professional. Originally, he started out as an auditor, and he has worked as a CFO for many years in companies of different sizes and industries. A fun fact about Pablo, he is a real marathon addict. When he is not busy in making sure that Treasury solutions run smoothly, he has his running shoes on, and I think he's now already training for his 12th marathon. Then we have Mariana Policrati. Welcome, Mariana. Group Treasurer at Avramar, the world's largest producer of high-quality Mediterranean fish. Mariana is not afraid to try out new technology, but this has also helped her develop a critical eye to things. Fun fact about Mariana, or actually not so fun, while she's a keen tennis player, she has a severe injury, so she's not able to play that often anymore. But that decided her to double down on her other passion, which is treasury, and she started her own advisory firm, Tetractis Treasury, where she can share her long experience in the field with a lot of other companies as well. And then last but not least, we have Nikki van Zanten, our very own treasuryXL ambassador. Nikki has a long experience working for several large companies in different roles within Treasury. When he's not busy with his work as an innovation manager for Treasury fintech companies, he enjoys exploring other interests, and he has a lot of those. Fine wines, high quality audio equipment, volunteering, and spending time with his dogs. Welcome, Nikki. So all our experts today combined have a lot of experience in the field of finance, treasury, and technology. So we are expecting a lot. Before we start, some practical input. The session lasts for 45 minutes, so we will try to keep it sharp. After that before those 45 minutes, you can ask questions at any time by clicking the Q&A button in the bottom bar of the Zoom session. So you can ask questions. The chat is also opened, and we will try to address the questions both during this session and at the end of this session. Now, let's get started. Pablo, as you look back over your career in finance and your role now at Embat, could you tell us a bit more about the best real-world examples of AI applications in finance that you have seen? And there, maybe it's also good to consider the different types of AI. So we have the more traditional AI, the predictive models, but now we also have generative AI. Maybe you can make a distinction there on the applications you are seeing in the field.
Sure. So good morning, everyone, and thanks, Jan-Willem, for the introduction. Picking up on your question, okay? AI is not AI is a buzzword now. It's for the last couple of years, it has picked up a lot, but it's been around really. Machine learning, deep learning models have been around for longer than a couple of years. And real world applications that we see in Embat span from what you've mentioned around predictive models using time series that allow us to either have an accurate forecast of our inflows and outflows, to more mundane tasks using, for example, generative AI achieve or to improve our bank reconciliation processes. Okay, so if we pick up in this second example, okay, which is probably one where we at Embat have seen or have been able to develop or improve the existing solutions. Okay, because automatic banking reconciliation is not something new. Particularly when you think about situations where one bank transaction is related to just purely one open position in your balance sheet. Models that offer this kind of solution have been around for a long time. But what we have been able to develop and the way we're helping some of our clients more recently with more advanced models is to tackle situations that maybe require a little bit more of input from a person. Think about situations where there's multi-currency, okay? So that relationship one-to-one may not be that evident. Or think about situations where one bank movement is related to multiple open positions in your balance sheet, okay? By developing more advanced models, we've been able to achieve close to 100% success rate in the bank reconciliation process of some of our clients, and also achieving impacts such as reductions of up to 10 hours in the 10 weekly hours in the accounting process of some of our clients. Okay, so I think just to this is a little bit of a summary of the real world applications that we see now.
Those are some nice results, Pablo. Nikki, we have talked about the concept of a robo-treasurer or an AI-powered treasury assistant. In the market, there's a lot of talks about AI agents as well. Like there's a lot of expectations about especially the next year, like what this will do. Is this something we will see, given the pace of developments, also becoming very relevant and becoming a reality for corporate treasury, those robo-treasurers or AI agents that are performing treasury tasks?
Yes, Jan-Willem. I think we also already have robo-treasuries, but they are basically the employees doing robotics type of work. So if I zoom a bit into that, right? Take liquidity management. Liquidity management is often, and I think that fits quite well into what Pablo was saying. It's very often bringing together different currencies, different points in time, and different account purposes, and a lot of different data points you can bring together. And once you have that sorted out, it results in just executing either very basic rules or even only having to answer yes, no type of questions. And once you have things configured in a way that you can only do yes, no type of questions or very simple rules, all right, I don't see any reason to not have a robot or something completely executing everything you need to do, providing you also give the right input in terms of targets and what you're looking at. However, you of course need to combine it with some sort of authorization model and let's say a kill switch that if it goes out of the bandwidth that you're comfortable with, for instance, if you're hedging FX and a certain carry goes way out of bounds, you might want to stop hedging at that point, and at that point you want to be able to pull that kill switch. So, but yeah, in essence, with the right framework setup and the right authorization, and also the ability to have it go when you want it, have it stop when you don't want it, and never creating a black box, I think we're getting very close to it. And sometimes it doesn't really matter whether it's a person doing it or a robot, as long as we have the right tasks with the right kind of persona in this case.
Okay, that sounds well, both exciting, but also both really like a potential game changer. Mariana, how do you think what Nikki is saying, like how this can potentially impact the job market for in treasury and finance? Will it reduce the role of people, or are we looking at more new types of job emerging? What should an aspiring treasury and finance professional focus on today, given the upcoming developments of the potential of robots performing the mundane tasks?
Well, in general, personally, I believe it will change. It will change a lot the landscape. But anyway, the landscape is changing, not only in Treasury, in finance, in Treasury, it's changing, continuously in all parts of the business. The fact that Treasury is still doing a lot of manual things, right, and not automating, is, a pain point, because the Treasury's role is, starting to being a bit more strategic, and you want to start have a critical view. So when we spend almost half of our day in doing manual things, right, we lose the opportunity to provide some value added to the business and things that can change. For sure, with AI, it will help us a lot in many things, right? And the fact that one of the things that as I say, the more mature treasurers are lacking is a little bit things to translate regarding automation and new technology. So we need young people coming in from the market that will help us translate. And we need people, like previously we had treasurers starting from accounting, leaving an accounting, and now a complete different mindset, being risk managers. We need also data analysts in this part as well, right? So we need people that have a background, a small, not huge background in IT, but that can help you translate and see all the new things that are coming in technology. In order to be able and automate a lot of things, right, and structure a lot of things, and to provide the things that Treasury needs to do for the organization. So I think pretty much this is what you're talking about, right? This is,
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And I think, like, I've seen the statement from people that generative AI could be most beneficial for senior professionals because they would have the ability to delegate effectively and review the output with a critical eye. So, but if I hear you say...
If I can add something there, Jean-Willem, I think we also need to be, finance and treasurers need to be a little bit bold, in terms of, embracing this technology, embracing AI, because I think we have to look at this from a perspective of 3, 5, 10 years time, not only what AI can do now, which probably it's in the infancy, of what can do in terms of helping us, but also thinking about 3, 5, as I said, 10 years time. And we have to make, decisions, train our models, and be bold about embracing these new technologies, knowing that it's a journey, that is not like something that is going to get sorted in one day or in 1 month or or even in 1 year,
So Pablo, I will take this a little bit. So, sorry, Ian, just jumping. Treasury is the pioneers usually, right? We are the ones and that we have tried. Remember, a couple of years ago, we were talking about e-banking platforms, connecting the business with someone outside of the business. It was like, okay, what is going to happen? Are they going to come outside and get data from us? They will see everything. So we were the first that tried with the e-banking platforms. This has been changed. We're working now with e-banking in our wallets, everything we do it, mobiles, etc. And one of the other things, Treasury is very adaptable, right? We are very resilient. So we are the ones that usually try a lot of things. So automation and AI is something that I believe, at least in the most companies that I talk about, is one of the things that we're looking into, right? And we're trying. But there are many things that you have to consider and things that, take you a bit back and you cannot do it, ASAP, that you want to do it tomorrow. Let's go and do it tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. And if I may add to that, because I've heard some companies, treasurers saying, well, we need to do something with AI. If we're not doing something today, we're getting left behind because we're not gaining experience. Can you maybe, Nikki, share some thoughts on that? Like, should treasurers do something with AI, start experimenting with it? Or is it more like a solution looking for a problem?
It's a good question. I would say the first thing is to get a clear problem statement, right? And then to try to figure out if AI or anything else for that matter is going to solve your problem. In terms of problems, I don't think AI solves now, nor it will in the future, are things like fundamental market risk. That is one of the key things treasurers involved in capital markets, let's say, worry about. I don't think it's the solution to fundamental market risk. However, if you're looking at things like that and how to get a bit closer to being able to manage things like that market risk from a treasury point of view, you can look at getting more predictable flows from cash flow forecasts and other things like that. You can link a lot of data points, like looking at not just looking at FX rates, but also looking at the pricing of a company. So if you're a global company and you're pricing in a lot of different currencies, to sort of try to get insights in what the pricing sensitivity is according to benchmarks, industry benchmarks, currency benchmarks across countries, and trying to link that information with in the end the goal to sort of create a holistic effectiveness, and that you're also able to measure that. Another example would be like back testing. I remember 15 years ago, to back test portfolios, you would have to go to a very large bank and wait a month for a computer to run a lot of calculations. And recently I've been able to run quite similar calculations on an iPad with the right model built, right? So I think what I'm trying to say is, you of course need to structure all your data, but the answer is not always in the data. It's just a hygiene factor, I think, to start getting things going. Then you need to be very clear on what your problem is. And as a sort of out of context example, I heard this week somebody studying at a design academy, they were asked to design a vacuum cleaner for a large domestic appliance firm. And in the end, they started to ask the question, but what does the client want? They don't want a vacuum cleaner, they want a dust-free house. So if you start thinking it from that angle, and instead of designing a vacuum cleaner, you have suction cups around your house just making the floor clean, you don't need a vacuum cleaner. And that's sort of a way of saying, if you're looking at a problem statement, really try to filter it down to the essence, and then look at that, see if AI actually solves that problem or can potentially solve the problem. And also I like what Pablo said, don't think if it can solve it now, but maybe in 3 to 5 years, if I do all the pre-work, then I can actually get something out of it. Then I think it's going to be a very useful tool.
Yeah, what is your perspective on that, Pablo? Should companies, already start experimenting now, even though that might not be the end goal yet? But I remember when the iPhone was first test, or the mobile phones first came up, like there also people were interviewed on the streets. There's a famous movie clip going around in the Netherlands. So would you use this mobile phone? And a lot of people said, no, I don't use it. I will write a letter if I want to speak to someone. So innovation is not always like people can comprehend like what it eventually can lead to, what it eventually can do. How do you view that with AI? Should companies already gain some experience with it, or should they be more in the wait and see mode until it becomes really the answer? As Nikki said, okay, what do you want to achieve? Well, maybe I want to spend less hours on gathering data, maybe manually, or looking into some market conditions. How do you do that?
So the same way, finance and treasury, they create annual budgets, 3 to 5 year long-term plans in order to guide the business, from a capital structure perspective, from a more broadly financial perspective. You need to plan, your technology needs and your automation needs, thinking about what am I able to achieve short term, what I want to achieve midterm, and what is the long-term view, what I want to be in 5-10 years time. So for sure, I mean, if we do this on our day-to-day basis, forecasting our cash flow, forecasting our P&L, why are not we going to do this for our processes, for our involvement with technology? So you can achieve short-term objectives, low-hanging fruit, things as simple as predicting the behavior of collection from your clients. Very, very simple things that may be able, to give you some advantages that then you can put them all together into like a more holistic plan that in 3-5 years time take you to where you want to be. So for sure, we have to start now implementing this sort of technology.
Ian, can I just, add something to this? Because, this is very interesting what Pablo says right now. And I just wanted to tell you as a treasurer, I am in the process of trying AI, right? And doing a lot of things. And there were a lot of steps as a treasurer. First of all, you have to find out exactly what you want to do, correct? Right? AI is not a solution like, okay, let's pick AI, this is from the shelf, and put it on and it will run, right? So first of all, Treasury, we have to have a clear vision what we want to do, finance as well, and see for these things that we want to do, if there is a solution that we can use through AI. The second difficult part is having management on board with this, right? Because usually management does not know 100% all the needs that are in the company. I was lucky enough to have management understand and say, Mariana, you have you can go, you have the green light to do it. Then you need the budget, right? You start finding the budget. Then you need someone that understands of this technology, because even in big companies, large companies, you have the IT departments that they're not so, 100% literate with the things that are and the needs, okay? So you need to find, and I was lucky enough to find a, great consultant that knows all these things. And at the end, you start working on the solutions and trying. And then you have to be very patient and not wait that everything will happen the next day, right? We're trying to connect with APIs and seeing a lot of things here with the Greek banks. And we're finding delays in this program, but we're still working on it, and we believe we will work on it. And then we will try to collect all the data that we have structured now, because the next thing, as Nikki said, you need clear and structured data. So we have spent a lot of time as a company in doing this and clearing and structuring our data. So all the data will be coming in when we have set up everything, will be in a very nice format in order to use RPAs to automate our processes, or other tools that will be coming in within the next year, in order to have the cash visibility that treasurers want, which is always a pain point and is always in Excel. See the actual cash flow that we have, and then maybe we can involve machine learning in trying to do our cash flow forecasting, right? To see the trends from the accurate data that we have going into in the future. So this is pretty much how we have worked right now, and we are in the process. It is a time-consuming process, I would say, and treasurers, usually we are very lean in our departments, so you don't have a lot of people to allocate in this, so it takes much more time, okay? So, I just wanted to add a bit, the use cases, Pablo was saying, we need to invest a lot of time on this.
Yeah, quite clear. I think you have a perfectly valid point. Nikki, how do you see that? I think, of course, AI is sexy. A lot of companies want to do something with it. But some might say that instead of focusing on the promises of AI, treasurers should focus more on getting the basics right. As Mariana is saying, like cash visibility, cash flow forecasting, proper hedging policies. How do you view that? Where is the priority?
Yeah, if I put myself back about 15 years or 10 years, everyone was talking about the Internet of Things and that it would change everything. And I personally still don't have an oven which I can turn on by my mobile, because it just doesn't do anything for me, right? When I'm turning on the oven, I'm usually home, so that's great. Then things moved into big data, and then that was going to be the game changer. Then you got a year or 10 ago, I was dragged into talks about robotics all the time. And what I'm trying to say is I still see treasurers doing the same things in Excel that they were doing 10 years ago, right? So it's really important to differentiate between the buzzword or the sexy new promises, as you call it, and actually setting goals. And I think Mariana also said that very clearly. You need to clearly define what you're going to do, and does it actually make sense for the company, not just you as a treasurer, but does it actually help the company to do whatever they're doing in a better, more efficient way, right? So if you're working for a company that, let's say, sells domestic appliances, you can manage currencies better. But if that doesn't help them actually create new business in new territories or sell more, or, to a certain extent also look at cost, it doesn't really help a lot. So I would say on this one very clearly, get the basics right. All right. So then the first basic is, why am I doing this? How am I going to do it? What am I doing? And then, take that into the next level, which for a treasurer is usually looking at things like liquidity management, cash visibility, which is a precursor for that, doing forecast, also realizing, a forecast to do a 3-month liquidity management is not the same as the forecast to get a 3 to 5 year bond issued, right? So you really need to get that 100% clear and matching with your goals. And then you can look at the new innovations or the sexy stuff. However, you have to realize you cannot define upfront before stating your problem that AI or robotics or any of this is the solution unless you have your problem clear. So you also need to do some research if that's really going to solve it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, personally, Pablo, what I'm wondering, you have a background in auditing as well, and what I notice is as a user of generative AI, that those models are non-deterministic, meaning I can ask, I can have an AI do some work for me, for example, make some calculations or figure out a problem. But if I ask a question and 5 minutes later I ask the same question, the outcome can be quite different. So what we're seeing is these models are basically black boxes and they're non-deterministic. And I think even the companies creating the AI models don't know 100% how they work on the inside, or can explain what is actually happening throughout all the different layers. How do you view that from an auditing perspective? Suppose I'm a company, I found a use case to apply AI, I'm applying it, but how do I explain it to my auditor, what is actually happening? How do you see that in the future when more and more companies start to apply AI?
Well, I think that's when the human factor still is going to be relevant, okay? Because at the end of the day, AI is just going to be another tool in order to for example, let's take a practical example. Imagine you are trying to justify to your auditor that you are a going concern, you've got your business plan, you've got your cash flow forecast for the next 12, 24, 36 months, and you only present to your auditor the output of an AI model that you're not able to justify. The auditor is going to challenge that, of course. It's going to challenge the assumptions behind that. So you need to be able to understand the model that you presented to an auditor from a cash flow forecasting perspective. So human factor, the person responsible for presenting that to the auditor needs to ensure that working with either that external consultant that is helping you implement that AI tool, or even your IT team, if you work in a technology company and you've got a specific in-house team helping you do that you're able to lay out what are the assumptions within that predictive model, okay? That is going to be important for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to comment on that quickly. I think that's a very important point, that the AI is not taking the responsibility away from the person to understand what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a good statement.
How important, sorry to interrupt, John William, but how important is that? Because we go to clients, we implement our product, and we see people expecting I thought I was going to be, you know, like I wasn't going to even log into the computer and click. This is an exaggeration, but we see that level of, let me use the word of, naivety, okay? Because that we're not at that stage yet. We're not at that stage where you're gonna have to get involved and still do things, you know. But hopefully, you're gonna be investing far less time in doing those less value-added things, okay?
And I have a question here as well, which is my concern. Nikki has given many examples, and Pablo as well, regarding where AI. AI can be used in Treasury as well with the LLM models, right? So we're talking about language models that will help us. Say, I have 20 loan agreements and I want to have like a summary, or how I have negotiated in the past, give me a summary, what exactly are the terms and the conditions that I say go, and I have, as a script in order for my next negotiation with the banks to go out and say, guys, 1, 2, 3, these are okay because you have accepted in the past, and you cannot say not, that you're not accepting, etc. So they can help us in negotiation. But here I have a concern, like which LLM models to use. OpenAI, I mean, these data, compliance-wise, it's not safe to go out, open everywhere and accessible. So what will be the investment cost for a company in order to have, a bit more closed model for this, or something, like the small packages or small models that they're considering and thinking now of getting out in the air. So this is one of the concerns that I cannot use right now, and we need to figure out as a company and treasurers and finance how we can make this happen, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid concern, and it goes for a lot of companies. I think OpenAI recently introduced the enterprise version where they promise not to use your data, but you can never be sure, of course. So indeed, we see some companies fine-tuning, taking an open source large language model, fine-tuning it on their own data, and also connecting it to their own data so that it can look in real time into company documents, interpret them, as you say, Mariana. So, but that of course requires a little bit more investment because it's not available out of the box. And there, indeed, it becomes a little bit of a hurdle for some companies to start using LLMs. Because officially, well, a lot of companies do not allow it because there's a fear of data being leaked. I think we have seen plenty of examples of data being leaked by accident by some employees. But still, a lot of employees see the value in their day-to-day processes of, let me quickly put it in ChatGPT to help me doing this and that. But there's a lot of risks in that. So, yeah, that's quite interesting. Nikki, how do you see those hurdles for companies? Like, what kind of stance should they be taking to this application of AI? Because you can say, well, it's company policy not to do it, but that people like it. They see the value in using it for their own work. So can you really say, okay, I'm not going to allow it throughout the company?
So I'm speaking on a personal title here. I do not use these things to either write up arguments or to get information, because I am quite clear that for every unit of information I get, there is probably a tenfold going the other way. So I would seriously doubt whether I am getting the information or providing the information. So, and in case then you get to the next question, which Mariana already pointed out, right? How do you make sure your information is in a, to the extent where it's needed, is ring-fenced, and that you only get external information at points when that's relevant? For instance, market information, can be from a public source because, right, it is everywhere, and you have stock exchanges, you have FX markets, you name it. Right? You can get that information and put it together. But that doesn't mean you want to share your positions in those equity holdings the other way. Right? So you have to be very careful with what you ask. And also, I still stand with the comment I made earlier. You cannot get away from taking responsibility and ownership of your matter. So if, for instance, somebody uses AI to just write an article and somebody reads it and actually asks a question and you cannot explain what you've written down, I think you've actually not made yourself more intelligent, but actually, make it seem like your intelligence has reduced by doing that, and you sort of want to safeguard doing that.
Yeah, that is quite interesting, and that I think that human in the loop, like the human taking the responsibility for what the AI is actually has produced, is quite an interesting concept, and I do agree to a large extent. Pablo, how do you see that? Because I also see some statements like, well, that AI might be generative AI might be most beneficial for those senior professionals. Because they have a more critical eye to see, okay, what has the AI actually produced? And they can actually see, okay, does it make sense or not? Whereas a more junior employee might have something like, okay, yeah, the AI says this and that, so it's probably true. How do you see that?
In terms of using it on our day-to-day, I am not like Nikki. I do use it in my day-to-day. It is true that I've had like 23, 25 years of experience prior to AI. So having that background helps you to have like a more critical eye. But we also have to think about that those young people that Mariana was before referring to, some of them are joining the job market, and this is one of their tools. It's like if I ask my kids about a world without mobile phones, they cannot think about a world without mobile phones. Well, these guys, the guys who are joining the job market right now, and the ones who will join the next 5 to 10 years, cannot think about a world without AI. So I think it's a responsibility of the more senior people, to challenge these people who are joining the market now, in order to make them see that, okay, AI is fine, but you have to develop your own criteria, your own critical eye, in order to challenge what the AI is giving you. Okay, and it goes back to that point around audit before. I need to be owner of what I present. It doesn't really matter whether AI prepares it or it's an Excel model that I've developed from scratch. I am the owner, and I need to be able to understand what I am presenting.
Yeah.
And it's a nice pitch for the young people to attract young talent in your teams. In Treasury and Finance, we are missing some young talent coming in, right? And when you have an interview and a discussion, say, we are investigating this. And so they find it interesting that going and working with the traditional models and data inputting and taking. So you welcome them in your team, and you're giving them a challenge when they're entering, that you can help us transform and shape the next day of Treasury in the company. So because young people are, how can I say, they are very unique and different young talent, right? So this is something that is typical that we're finding all across the industries. So, when we are having AI and you're using tools that are technologically advanced, you're welcoming them in your organization. So it is a nice way. I'm fortunate enough to have a team of 4 people, different ages, different generations, that I have a huge combination of, young talent, innovation, enthusiasm, drive, experience, maturity. So it's a very nice mixture that I have.
Okay, very nice. Well, I see we're already entering the last 5 minutes of this session. We've heard some very interesting perspectives. But yeah, I've asked a lot of questions, but I'm also quite interested to hear from all of you, maybe in 1 minute each, Nikki, Mariana, and Pablo. Like, what do you want to share that hasn't been brought up regarding this topic, the application of AI in finance and treasury? Yeah, maybe you can, Mariana, maybe you can start. Looking 5 years ahead, like, where do you see this going, and what should the audience take away from this topic?
I think there will be rapid changes happening. It won't take too long, like all the changes. I think it's going to be quite fast. There are going to be different skill sets requested in the market. We will be able to think different. We need to think out of the box, all of us, and try to consider and think and see with the tools that we have, what are the next things that we will be able to do. So it's something that's coming. My tip is everyone needs to try and start testing and seeing exactly how it is, and don't be afraid of technology. I mean, it's something that's coming, and we can use it a tool, because if you have it against you, I think you're going to be left behind in the industry.
Good. Thank you, Mariana. Pablo.
Sure. So my three key takeaways would be like, make sure you got a plan. Make sure you got a plan as within any project. Make sure you have clear objectives of what you want to achieve, short term, mid-term, long term. You need to have your house in order before you actually achieve some benefits, as with any project that involves technology. So if data is not precise in your company, not even the greatest technology is gonna solve the fact that you're missing data, or your data is inaccurate. You don't have the ledgers clean, whatever it is. And finally, work with either internal or external partners, internal people or external suppliers that have a clear expertise, and that at least have some experience in what you're trying to achieve. So that would be my three key takeaways.
Okay, thank you very much for this insight. Nikki?
Yeah, I'd like to draw a comparison to the cloud. That's been around much longer than people think, but it only really got kickstarted when the virtual machines were developed to make sure the storage space could be used really efficiently. And I think AI is going to play a similar role as those virtual machines in getting things like the quantum computing, the robotics, the machine learning, everything. And I think it's really going to kickstart that to bring that to use. However, I do think we need to be considerate that we also need some data management in the form of data vaults to make sure it doesn't become a black box.
All right. Thank you very much. My connection was stuck for a second, but so I didn't exactly hear your last words. But thank you very much, Nikki. Well, if there are no other questions from the audience, I would like to thank you, Pablo, Mariana, and Nikki, for sharing your insights. And I think it was a very fruitful discussion. I think the future will be very exciting, and we will definitely, I think AI is definitely here to stay. So very exciting to see where we stand in a few years from here, and maybe we can do another one of these sessions and evaluate. Well, thank you to TreasuryXL for hosting the session, and our audience today for joining us. We hope you find today's session very useful and informative, inspiring. And we also are quite curious to see what our audience is going to use AI for in the next coming years. Please keep an eye on TreasuryXL's website, socials, and you can also sign in for the newsletter to be informed for more sessions like this. Have a wonderful day. Okay, bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.